All righty. Yes, of course, Sports Reveal with Coach Hall in this abbreviated segment here. Got tied up doing some official things, so I'm kind of short on time this morning. Yesterday, a couple of interesting things. I heard that I actually said to you that I think for the Golden State to win this game, they had to find a way to slow down Van Vliet. And on the flip side of that, they had to have 3-point production from certain people at a certain amount. Draymond Green, he had to hit 3, and he had to have at least 5 from the rest of the players, other than Steph Curry, if they were going to beat the Rockets. Well, Draymond come right out and he hit 2, and I think he hit 3 altogether. And then Buddy Hield took over. Buddy Hield ended up with 9 3-pointers last night, and he set the record for 3-point shots made in a game 7. I felt like Paczynski, Moody, Hield combined, if they hit at least 5, then they would be able to hold the Rockets off. But I could not see that Hield was going to be able to hit so many 3-pointers. And I also said that Van Vliet, they had to find a way to slow him down. Well, they still didn't seem to have a certain game plan for Van Vliet. He was just off last night. And in typical fashion, the way basketball goes, you got a guy that's been hitting a bunch of shots, and they don't go all during the game, but when the game is over, then all of a sudden they start to fall. So in the last minute of the game last night, Van Vliet hit 2 3-pointers, but too little, too late. But I called it, and right before the game started, the TNT broadcast, Shaq said the others had to step up. Same kind of thing that I had said, and we both got it right. But what I did get wrong, I didn't think Indiana could go into Cleveland and win, especially the first game. I don't know what the situation is with Garland, but he hadn't played in a couple games, and he's sitting there on the bench, having a good old time, but he's not on the court. These guys are making all this big money, but when it's time to play for a championship, they seem not to be available. Now, when you see things like that, it kind of gives credence to the idea of load saving that these guys believe in, where they sit out X amount of games to try to spare themselves for a playoff run. Well, with all the jumping and twerking and everything that these basketball players do, you can understand that to a certain extent. You want to have yourself in best position to be able to play in the playoffs, and Garland, he's not there yet. And it's clear that they needed him on the court. The guy that's replacing him, he doesn't run the offense like Garland can, and it kind of throws him off a beat. But that's not to say or take anything away from the Pacers, because they clearly outplayed Cleveland most of the game. Cleveland got hot in the third quarter when Mitchell started to take the game over. But that big 3-pointer by Miles Turner at the end of the third quarter, as the clock was expiring, that was huge. And that let Indiana know that they can win this game. And they managed to pull it out. So the question is, what's Cleveland going to do? Are they going to bounce back and take game 2? Are they going to rush Garland back if he's not ready? They got a lot of things that they have to come up with. And the adjustment that they're going to have to make is they're going to have to keep Halliburton out the lane, because he's gotten confidence that he can score more. And if he's scoring more, that means his assist count is going to go up, because they're going to collapse down on him and he'll start kicking out. Same kind of thing you see with the Nuggets and Jokic. Speaking of Jokic and the Nuggets, they tip off game 1 tonight against OKC. And the question is, how rusty will OKC be after sitting out so many games? Not saying that they won't be practicing at a high rate, but if you're used to playing every 2-3 days and you've been sitting down over a week, that's going to have some effect on how they perform, especially in that first quarter. If they come out in the first quarter and they're red hot, that's a bad sign for Denver. But regardless of what they do, if you notice the way Denver's been playing lately, they have been not using Jokic so much to score. He's been more distributing. He only scored, 16, 17 points in that last game they played against the Clippers. Murray, he didn't do a whole lot. It's the other guys. And if those cast of characters step up and play, and then Jokic can do what he can do, then Denver is going to be a tough out. I don't care who they play. Remember, OKC, they hadn't been too deep. This is where the round where they lost last year, they didn't advance very far. And people are going to be talking about that, especially if Denver is able to go in there and take one of those games, one of those first two games, to steal home court. So keep an eye on that. JC, how you doing, man? Kamatan, Killer Park, good night. And Nasir Hussein, man, the Pacers, I see the Pacers going out in 6. I've seen teams on the road, they step in and look like they're going to make it a great series. But if you shoot all your wad out in the first game, what are you going to do when the adjustments come? And speaking of what you're saying, Hussein, I think if the adjustments that are made are heavily in favor of Cleveland, and then you bring back Garland, I think Indiana might be in trouble. But if Indiana wins game 2, you might just be right, Hussein. But I just don't see it. I think Cleveland, I think they got caught being guilty of looking ahead, thinking that they want to get a rematch at Boston. But like I said yesterday, if they do get that rematch, they'll take Boston to 6. But that's all they're going to get. They're about a game better than they were last year. And Boston, they just got too many scores on the bench. And when you got anybody all the position that can score at any time, that makes for tough matchups. And unless they're off, Boston's going to be hard to beat in the East. But what was I saying? But the Denver is a tough matchup for OKC because of Jokic. He can score. If he's being double teamed, he's going to distribute, and he's going to get those rebounds. But I think the best way to play Denver is probably to just play him one-on-one, take away those passing lanes, and just let him score whatever. Kind of like what Minnesota was doing with Doncic. Let him score 30 or 35. Who cares? But if he's not distributing or the other guys aren't involved, then it becomes a 1-on-5 game. And you don't want that if you are the team with the 1-on-5. Larry Strickland, how you doing, man? The other game that tips off tonight, you have the Knicks and the Celtics. Now, the Knicks, Brunson scoring all those points. I don't think he's going to be able to score on the Celtics like that. And even if he is, I don't think they have enough firepower to keep up with the Celtics in a shootout. Towns, he's kind of iffy to me. He show up some days and other days he won't show up. And this is not the kind of series that they can have inconsistencies coming from him. And he's going to have to score 20 plus. Brunson's going to have to score close to 30 like he did before. And they're going to have to play some tough defense on the shooters of Boston. Tatum, if he's off, then Brown usually picks up the slack when he's off. Even Al Horford can get hot and score 10, 15. So I don't see the Knicks. They hadn't done very well against Boston this year. The games have been competitive. They hadn't necessarily been blown out, but they hadn't done anything really to slow New York. And I don't see with the adjustments, when I'm focusing strictly on you, how you're going to be able to stop this team when you couldn't do it when you might see me once in a while. But if the focus is clearly on New York, I don't see the Knicks having a chance. But that's not to say that, they won't get to bounce 1 or 2 games. So let's just say New York. But I just don't see them before we get what everybody's been expecting, and that's Cleveland and Boston, which I think is going to take place. But then you got the fly in the ointment, these Pacers. They lost to Boston last year in the finals and in the Eastern Finals, and they're looking to get back for another shot. Now, I think that Indiana is a dangerous team, but I think in the end, Cleveland's going to find a way to solve them. All right. JC, Detroit wasn't playoff experience. Boston is. So if the Knicks play like they did in Detroit series, Boston will win the series. Yeah, I believe that too. But the thing is, uh, basketball is really a chance game. Skill level gets you to a certain point, but every time I put up a shot, I can't guarantee that it's going to go in. And Boston might just have 1 or 2 games where they just can't hit. They're going to throw up a whole bunch of threes, and they're going to hit a whole lot of them. But there are going to be times when just nothing will fall. And if New York can stick close to them and they stay consistent on the offensive end, then they can have a chance to steal 1 or 2 games. But it's still going to take everything the Knicks have. They're going to have Brunson being on, and they're going to have Towns being on. Like I said, it just seems like to me he comes and goes. I've seen that he's got the heart. He showed me a little heart, but I just don't think Towns is enough help for Brunson to get over the Celtics. Now, I've been hard on going back to Denver. I've been hard on Jamal Murray. He pulled the same damn thing the other night he's been doing for most of the season. He's scoring 2 and 3 points in the first half when he's supposed to be the second scorer for Denver. They can't depend on that, man. If he keeps doing that, then Denver is not going to get anywhere close to being OKC. He's got to score 20-plus points, and he's got to come out scoring consistently and stay consistent if the Nuggets have any hope of beating OKC. Now, the Clippers, the game got away from him. Harden, he don't really do anything in Game 7. He did have 13 assists, but at the same time, how do you let the game get away? Zubac, he didn't do what he normally does. And it always amazes me how teams get to Game 7 after playing a great series and just get blown out in the last game. Makes me think that things are rigged. I know it's not, but it just seems that way. And like Sex says, Murray only shows up versus the Lakers. Yeah, he better show up against OKC because that guy Gilgeous, if he's getting his 30-plus points, I hadn't seen anybody slow him down yet. And in all truthful, how can you really stop a guy unless you double and triple team and get the ball out of his hands? This is basketball. You can't really stop a guy in basketball. But football, you can come up with a plan to do something to him, but not in football. Not in basketball. And I think if Gilgeous, if he gets 30 and start approaching 40, and then what's my man Hartenstein, if he gets going down low, getting them rebounds, man, OKC is going to be hard to beat, man. And I just don't think that an inconsistent Murray is going to be what the Nuggets need to get past in this series, man. All right. So, and if it was rigged, Lakers would have won. Yeah, everybody wants the Lakers to win, and they'll make 1,000 excuses when they don't win. Blah, blah, blah. But like I told you guys before, I don't care where the team is from. It's the ratings that people are always talking about. They want to see Boston and LA for the historical factor, and that's what they really want to see. But if they don't earn their way to the playoffs, I don't want to see them. I don't give a damn how popular they are. I want to see the best teams play, and LA is not one of them. I'm a Lakers fan. We have to get Luka in shape. Yeah, he got to get in shape, but I think that the Lakers, I don't know if you're going to keep LeBron, or I think if LeBron comes back, you need to go trade for one of those athletic wing guys and get you a dead-eye shooter. Now you got something to work with. But until you do that, I don't see it working. Freddie Wright, how you doing, man? OKC is here. I expect to see him show up tonight. But if y'all look for Jamal Murray, if he's less than 5 points in the first half, then there's no need to watch that series. OKC is going to run them off in no more than 5 games. It all comes down to how Jamal Murray plays. If he's not on and consistent, then don't even worry about what the Nuggets are going to do. Come out in Game 6, Game 6 or Game 5? He hit 43 points, and then he pretty much went dead the last game. So I don't expect nothing from him. And if you watch the score lines and watch these games, you can pretty much tell how these series are going to go based on how the star players perform. And Murray, he just not it for me. All right, I'm spoiling you. Gia, hit the like. Appreciate it, man. That little buzz you heard, man, that's my time to get up out of here, man. I got these kids coming in here, so it's time for me to go. I got to go sign in. So I appreciate you guys chiming in. I hate to get on so late. I'm trying to get on time tomorrow at 6:30. Unless there's some breaking news, I'll be back on at 6:30 in the morning. And until then, I appreciate you guys checking me out. But in the meantime, I got to go to work. But before I do, let me check this poll. I say, can the Pacers defeat the Cavaliers in a series? And most of you are saying yes. Well, if they play like they played yesterday, then Cleveland's got a problem, man. So that's just the way I see it. But anyway, you guys have a great day. I got to go to work, man. So can't wait to get back to you next time. JC, Frederick Wright, Sex, all you guys, appreciate it. Larry Strickland. Yeah, all them old heads do need to sit down, Larry Strickland. Let me go, man, before I get stuck on here, man. Y'all have a great day, man. I'm out.